So we
Can
are,
you go to,
sorry.
can you just click on the view tab on the ribbon on the top of the slide? There'll be a drop down
Okay.
and go to presentation view in that. The
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, yes, perfect.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay.
Shriranjini.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So we are Speleological Association of India, and we like to look at all the underground water and land systems. And so basically, we study cave and karst systems of the entire subcontinent. So we intend to study the entire Indian subcontinent. Uh, we would like to say that we represent all the biological systems, all the animals, the small animals, the larger animals, the insects, the birds, the mammals, everything that um, dwell inside these dark holes in the ground. The geological part, the cultural significance of the caves and the karsts landscapes, the exploratory research, because a lot of the systems are either explored only for commercial purposes or completely ignored. So we'd like to look into seeing, mapping them, uh, exploring them. And we would like to look at them as conservation. We would like to work towards their conservation. We would like to make people aware of the whole system, because uh, it almost feels like the entire earth is one little hollow. So there are tiny deep veins running under the surface which we cannot see, but they help us in a lot of ways. So we need to make a lot everybody aware of it. Be yeah. So why would we want to do that? Because 25% of our drinking water in the world comes from these underground water. So caves also have a very unique character, that they have almost constant humidity and temperature throughout the year. So we can use them as laboratories and study different systems inside. A lot of fauna and microfauna end up getting restricted to the cave systems. They cannot go out. That is why they get specialized in that system, and the endemism in that system is very high. So the caves have high endemism, and the biodiversity is also very rich. They have harbor evidences of past climates, and obviously they have. We know that the cave paintings and the fossils and the skeletal remains, all of that form the evidences of historical life forms for us. That's why caves need to be looked at more carefully. So let's come to our team. We have India's eminent scientists who have come together to form this association. We have Dr. Shirish Munchi here. Give me a minute. Advai, close the door. Okay, then don't come in. Yeah. So we have Shirish Munchi, who is a principal scientist in SACON. It was his brainchild to start something of this sort in our country. He has an experience in ornithology and speleology that spans over 2 decades, almost 20 years or a little more. He has been heading the Edibleness Swiftlet Conservation Program in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And now he is looking at the cave-dwelling Indian edibleness swiftlets in the coastal area of Maharashtra, amongst other activities. Then we have Dr. Golden Quadras, who is also part of our team. He's the principal scientist as well at SACON. He's one of the eminent wetland scientists of our country. He has a vast experience spanning beyond 3 decades. He is a unique blend of science as well as education. So he works in the field of environmental education very dedicatedly. Then we have Dr. Ram Pratap Singh. He's a geneticist and a physiologist, and he has his experience has taken him across the globe. Right now, he's an associate professor and head of the department of life sciences at the Central University of South Bihar in Gaya. So that's him, and they keep on mentoring us, and they are like our support pillars. Then we are the younger members. We have Miss Dhanusha Kawalkar, who is a PhD student at Salim Ali Center for Ornithology and Natural History. She comes from a social work background. Then she did her postgrad in wildlife conservation. Afterwards, she joined the Edibleness Swiftclip program, and she has since then worked on cave dwelling birds. Then we have Amrita Dhamarikar. She is a biodiversity postgrad. She has worked in cave biology. She was instrumental in describing a new species of shrimp, Caridina ravishankarani, from the subterranean, so cave wetland in Andaman. And then there's Harshada Pete. I am a environmental management postgrad. I had received the Women Scientist Award, and I have worked in islands through SACON, and I wish to take it further through the organization. So that's us. Oh, jumping now. Yeah. Then we invited some varied experienced people. Among that, we have Dr. Jayashri Sanwal Bhatt. She is a PhD in geology, also woman scientist recipient. She's current, so she her expertise is studying climate change through the mineral remains inside caves. She has authored more than 30 research papers, and she has vast experience. As of now, she is working from JNCSR from Bangalore. Next, we have Saili Palandi Datar. She is an archaeologist, an ecologist, and an historical researcher. She brings in the cultural part of us for us, the human aspect. The rocket caves in Maharashtra's Western Ghats are her passion, and the natural caves. So she brings in the cultural aspect for us. Let's come to our speaker, Commander Vishwanath Rajan. He has been a scuba diver since 1999 and a cave diver and a paramedic. So he's like a very unique blend of being an ex-naval personnel, then studying diving very deeply, then looking at cave diving in a very studious manner, looking at the safety involved, and very dedicated towards high quality education related to diving. So that's our speaker for today. What I'll do is I'll like to invite him on this note to start his talk. And yeah, and I'll stop sharing my screen for the time being. Yeah. Vish, you can take over now.
Hi everyone, I'm Vish, and I'm going to be presenting today. So our talk today is celebrating World Wetlands Day, which was on the 2nd of February, and we talk about diving in subterranean wetlands, which are not just caves. So I'm going to talk to you about that, and a little bit of housekeeping. I see most of you all are already muted, on the chat. So keep questions in the chat, please. Any questions on or comments on Facebook or offline will be answered offline. And I have my email address here, and Harshada's email was already on the poster. So in case there are any further questions that we cannot answer at this point, please send them to us. I think Harshada has already covered a lot about me, so I'm not going to put this up too much. But just so you all also know that I'm a technical and public safety diving instructor as well. And we teach classes in India on technical diving and public safety diving at my dive center and across the country. So World Wetlands Day is celebrated on the 2nd of February every year. And I'm just going to talk about wetlands to start off with. So everybody's heard of the Ramsar Convention, and those of you who haven't, it's a convention which was adopted in 71 and primarily talks about looking after wetlands and the proper use of a wetland, designation of wetlands, and make sure that we are able to share wetland resources and wetlands and understand species better. So what is a wetland? And while I was looking for this, because I'm not a wetland scientist really, I found multiple definitions, but primarily there are two main which stood out to me. And they're basically where there is wet and land. So wherever there is water and land is as a confluence, we would call that a wetland. However, the definitions do go a lot further than that. And as you can see in this slide, the extent of wetlands is from the coast, really, from wherever you have a lake, river, ocean, estuary, and it goes all the way up to the groundwater levels, and you can even have inland.
Vishwanath,
Wish
I'll
we can
just
see
yeah.
your slides.
You haven't shared your screen.
your screen yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Do you want me to go back again and start, or do I
No,
just?
let's just continue.
Okay. It's not allowing me to share right now. Is it up?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yeah. You just have to go full screen.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Shirish. And I apologize for all of you who haven't seen the previous slides, but they were basically information. So, yeah, so this is the extent of, wetlands, and you have, like I was saying, from right from the coast all the way up to where you get groundwater in the high altitudes. And India has 49 wetlands listed in the Ramsar Convention, 2 of which were added on the 2nd of February 2022. One of which is a high altitude lake in Ladakh. So even desert wetlands, and like this is an example of a desert wetland, whereas there's a river flowing into the Chihuahua Desert in Texas and Mexico. So you have desert wetlands, you can have river and lake wetlands, which are more commonly known, urban and coastal, and even when you look at urban areas, think about them and wells and other areas that you have. One of the key things that I'd like to highlight here is that a couple of months ago there was a blind eel which was discovered in Mumbai, and it's a new species which has been discovered by the Thackeray Foundation. So keep in mind that even urban populated areas like Mumbai are extremely biodiverse. Delhi has one of the biggest city wetlands, Bangalore. So we have to be extremely cautious about what we put into our waters and how it impacts our lives. You have inland waterways and inland wetlands like this well. A lot of us don't think about our wells as wetlands, But if you think about the fact that there are fish inside, you find frogs and other, microbes and microscopic animals that we don't know about, including insects. Wetlands are really important to us. We also have wetlands which are connected by karst systems or by passages underwater. And one such wetland was a wetland which I was able to dive in Florida. It's a sink which is connected to the ocean. It's about 60, 70 meters deep, and it goes all the way down to the ocean at around 90 meters. It's a pretty hardcore technical dive. And we're going to talk about diving now. So diving, as most of you all would know, is mostly done in the ocean or lakes, some places aquariums. And we all know about Scuba. So Scuba is an acronym which is self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, and it consists of a lot of other associated gear. So here's a picture of a diver in full kit, and she is ready to go diving. The thing that you can't see on her back is a cylinder, which would be giving her gas. And you have, again, different types of cylinders. Of course, equipment varies as you go into different levels of diving and different types of diving. So these are the basic limits or the levels for divers. You can start with an open water diver, which is a 4-day program and allows you to dive to 18 meters. You have an advanced open water diver again, which takes about 2 days. And as you keep going on, you can increase your experience, increase the time you have in water, going on to technical diving, which is using mixed gases. Most of the time we breathe air. So there's a huge misnomer of people saying that, oh, your oxygen tank will get empty. We don't breathe oxygen for most dives. We do breathe oxygen for technical dives, but only at 6 meters, because oxygen actually gets toxic for the human being beyond 6 meters. So we have to be very careful about that. Then you have what we do, which is overhead environments, which is caves and wrecks. And I'm going to talk more about that, which is basically as we go ahead. So diving can be recreational, which is fun, and or sport diving. You have military diving, where you have combat divers and mine clearance divers. You have commercial diving, which is basically underwater work, which is welding, cutting, building things underwater, oil rigs. Both military and commercial divers use different equipment. Then you have scientific diving, which is what we're going to do a lot once we start our cave explorations. And this is basically scientists and citizens doing research, taking data for scientific progress. Now we come to the main topic, which is diving in subterranean wetlands. And like I said, we have various types of wetlands. So this is a wetland. It's Orange Grove in Florida. And this is me getting ready to go into the cave. The cave actually is a huge passage. It's a multiple sinks, multiple, what should I say, entries and exits. This was one exit where you come out of the water and you have to climb out. There's no ladder, there's no rail, nothing. So ideally we just go back in and go out from where we started. So to enter a cave, you already, like I said, it's a extremely intense process of training, and it's not easy. It's also not for everyone, because many times people get claustrophobic after certain amount of because caves are black, they're completely dark unless you have the right equipment, the right lights. So you have to train for failures of your lights, failures of your equipment, and things like that. So the main thing is to be comfortable and gradually train yourself in diving before you start cave diving. So this is me again getting ready to go into a cave, and you can see at the back the reeds over there. That's basically grass, which is not endemic. It was brought there. It's called eelgrass. It was brought there to kind of stop the flow of the river, but it's become endemic, and it's now not endemic, sorry, invasive, and now it's covered the whole plain. Really, the whole outflow is flooded with filled with this grass. And so here you need to have a reel. You basically tie outside the cave, and you want to be sure that you can get back, because once you're inside the cave, there's no, when it's dark enough, there's no real way to know which way is out. And you can easily get lost by thinking that you're going out and actually going in. Quite a few deaths have happened while cave diving. So it is one of the most dangerous sports. It's probably more dangerous than skydiving. So once you tie in to the main line, which you can see ahead, there's slight color change, if for those of you who can see that. You go inside the cave. There is in some of the caves there is already a line that is tied in. So you tie into that, and then you go further. In our case, when we are going to be exploring, we'll be setting up the initial lines ourselves and then leaving them in so that we can go back again and do the surveys. This is a short video. I hope it plays. It's me and my buddy going into a cave. Let me know if it doesn't play, please.
It's working.
Wish you're on mute.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so before you're like in preparation for going for the cave dive, how much of the cave do you like
Sorry,
previously
sorry
map
for the
out?
entire.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we can have a question answer session at the end.
And yeah,
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
all could just type out your questions in
You
the
can
chat
put the
box,
question.
we will address them at the end of the talk.
Dhanusha, you can mute everybody other than speaker till the end of the talk as a host.
yes, sir.
Okay, so I was telling you all about the levels of cave diving and overhead diving, and so you have 4 basic levels, and different agencies, training agencies across the world have slightly different requirements and slightly different end levels as well. When I say end levels, in the sense end learning requirement. But more or less, it's cavern diver, then intro cave, apprentice, and full cave. And full cave is basically an exploration level diver. If by then you haven't learned how to do a survey, or haven't learned how to do uh, run reels, fix reels, map caves, then your training probably needs some more, or maybe you need to change your instructor and the place where you go for training. Also, then we have some specialities which are using different equipment, and again, I go back to one of the principal things one of my policies, which I tell people that as a diver, you're using the equipment and you're using life support equipment almost like an astronaut. You are going to see something which needs life support equipment. So whether you're going into the ocean, whether you're going into a river or a cave or a wreck, it's basically you understanding how to use that life support equipment. So the equipment is basically a means to take you there. It's like if you're going rock climbing, you will use particular kind of shoes. If you're going off-roading, you will use a vehicle, bicycle. Just think about that as a means to the end. So once you have these various levels done and you're confident of your diving, your training is extremely important because training builds, muscle memory, mental capacity, knowledge, and also at the end, it'll build confidence in your own skills. And these specialities which I'm talking about are using more advanced equipment like closed circuit rebreathers, a underwater scooter, which you might have seen. And stages is basically you put additional, basically you build kind of multiple setups where you have small places where you put equipment, you put gas cylinders, and continue staging that whole dive. These are a few images. Once you've reached, the level of cave diver, these are the kind of beautiful things which you can see. This is Mexico, and this is a photograph by Marissa. She's an amazing photographer and dive instructor. Again, a couple of more photographs. And not all caves are huge. And you saw the entry. So this is another cave. This is Jackson Blue. Small entries, small passages. Here's another small video. It's another tiny passage where you can hardly move. And you have to be very careful of not silting up the place.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm not muted this time. So our present projects in India, I'm just going to talk about those now. The most important for us right now is Project Cloudbase, which is an exploration and survey project planned in Meghalaya. The primary recce was done in February 2021 by my buddy Donner Undas and Bipin. And the survey dives we plan to do prior the monsoon. And we're going to do at least a few days of diving there. It's a beautiful site and it's all in the hills. So reaching there is going to take us some time. Here are some images, and thanks Das for sharing these images. And you can see it does have a certain amount of fauna. Typical karst systems, at least from what I can see right now. And for those of you who don't know, Meghalaya is pretty high on the geological scale because there was also the Meghalayan era, which was found in a cave. And like Harshada was talking about caves being geological monuments. We also hope that we should be able to get some information for our scientists and be able to help further this study. Next is for sea caves, and we're planning to do exploration and survey. Primarily recce will be in 2022. Survey dives will again be this year and next year. All depends upon the weather and how things go. Here's an image of a prospective sea cave, and you can see how the cave is getting damaged by plastic inside. And the more pollution we throw, the more plastic we waste. It just sorry about that noise. It just goes back into the caves and keeps worsening our wetlands. So the threats that we face in wetlands is pollution and dumping, of course. Also urbanization and reclamation. You know, Bombay, Mumbai, as she is now known, is mostly reclaimed land, and the main reason for flooding and monsoon devastation is because of the reclamation, which is unable to drain. And also we have, of course, the scientists here, Dr. Golden will be able to tell us more about that. And climate change and global warming are going to change, are already changing things for us in wetlands. We just hope that the caves will still be pristine when we go diving, and we'll be able to get more information for you. And hit me up if you all have any questions. And I think we can take questions now. I'm going to stop sharing. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
So yes, a very happy World Wetlands Day to all. I am Dhanusha Kavalkar, and yes, thank you, Vishwanath. It was a very beautiful presentation, I must say, filled with all blue colors, and it actually gave us a dive into the subterranean wetlands. So yeah, so just to brief up the webinar. Vishwanath has given us a nice brief review of what are different types of wetlands, then what is scuba, then what are the gears, and all the hows of the cave diving. And yeah, thank you for sharing all your experiences and also about the cloud project. Speleological Association of India is also planning for exploration sea cave project. So yeah, this was everything about today's webinar. So now we'll just go to the questions. So we have got some really interesting questions over here. Yeah, the first question we'll look at is by Sraman Dasgupta. So Vishwanath, can you hear me? I'm audible.
Yeah, Harshada, you want me to answer them one by one? I can see the chat myself.
So yeah, why not? But it's okay if I can. So we'll go with the first question.
Yeah. So Someone, to answer your question, we cannot have maps of caves when we enter them, especially if they're flooded, because you can't go inside them, right? You need a map. To map them, you need to go inside them. So that's one of our projects. We have maps, as in terrestrial maps, so we can based on the gradient, based on the contours, based on the geomorphology of the area, we can kind of have an understanding of what's going on and how the waters would be, or how the cave would be. Also, there are techniques to use ultrasound and ground radars, but we haven't used them yet. So we don't have maps. We are actually developing the maps.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's
go. The next question is from Anshul. And he asks, what's the most interesting cave feature or living organism in your wide experience of diving? Well, the most interesting cave feature was to dive in Budapest, Hungary, where the entire cave system is under a hill, and you wouldn't even believe that there's a cave system there until you actually go and dive it. So it's an amazing crystal-filled cave. It's pretty deep, and it's in a hill. Dhanusha, any details of the sea caves explored in India? I don't have any information on this.
So yes, I along with Shirish sir have explored a few sea caves, but not underground yet. But yes, we are targeting to look into. Shirish sir, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, sea caves in India underwater. I'm not really sure if they are explored. I understand they're not yet much. But then, yeah, on the coast, which are sea caves, not underwater, but have water in them, are up to some extent explored by our team. But yeah, really looking at that, there is no significant exploration of sea caves in the country yet. I think we can go for the next
For the
question.
next.
The next question is, how deep are the subterranean caves, subterranean wetlands in the Meghalaya caves? We haven't gone beyond the initial push yet, so we can't really say how deep it does go. We do know that there was an unfortunate accident where some miners were stuck. They were coal mining, and they hit a subterranean uh, passage, which flooded passage, and that was about 60 plus meters. Unfortunately, it was recovery, and but we do know that there are passages that go all the way up to 60 meters. They could be deeper. We're not sure yet. Does that answer your question, Ilona?
Ilona there? Is Ilona there?
I'm going to take Mosami's question now. How does weather affect diving? When you're at sea, if the weather is rough, it affects basically the boat ride back and forth from the dive site. So basically your travel. Once you're in the water, there isn't so much of a problem. You don't face too much of the waves unless you're very, very shallow, in which case the waves will, and the waves are very high, in which case the waves will toss you up and down, and that can be really dangerous because the as you as pressure affects your body when you're diving, if you are suddenly thrown up, the pressure suddenly releases, and it can cause serious effects to your body. When it comes to cave systems, the weather does make a big difference, especially if the water is running into the cave. Primarily because there's a lot of debris that gets collected. There's a lot of tannins, and tannins are formed from plant decaying and plant matter decaying. So that changes the color of the water. As you have more debris as well, it changes the you can't visibility. Water becomes more turbulent. So those things affect diving. I think I can't read this question. Sorry. Yeah, Shiraranjani asks, is there a platform where researchers or academic institutions can reach out to call for divers to help with the diving part of their studies? So far, I do know that researchers or academic institutions have been reaching out directly with to divers and dives schools for their own training. We are trying, my dive shop in India, in Goa, we are trying to kind of build a rapport with certain colleges and institutions because a lot of the dive courses offered are actually eligible for college credit as well. So, and are accepted across the world for college credit. So we aim to get and a nice symbiotic relationship with colleges and schools, so that students can learn about diving and use it and become scientific divers. We teach scientific diving as well, so they can automatically be divers who actually can do their own research. Scientists who can dive and do their own research, which is what happens across the world.
Ranjini, are you okay with the answer?
Yes, sir. I got it. I thank you for the talk and the answer. I knew about the fact that some of the researchers are trained as divers. I was just wondering if there's a place where people could reach out and call in divers in case they are looking for divers for their studies.
Yeah, I would just add to it. If now, if you think you need a diver to dive in some caves, then yeah, you can come to the Speleological Association, and we can get you to the right person.
Right.
So there is a place
We'll
now.
add a page to the website for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your suggestion.
Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, the next.
There's a question from Manoj Borkar, which says vertically the submarine realm is stratified into euphotic, diphotic, and aphotic zones. So oceanic caves occur in which zone exactly? Are there any submarine caves of the benthic shelf? And so to answer this question, if you look at most submarine islands, not submarine, sorry, volcanic islands like Lakshadweep, Maldives, even some submarine banks, the Agria banks across on the west coast, they are all volcanic in origin, and therefore there have been various strata and geological time frames which have karst, which is basically limestone, which is being layered. Now, when you have those surfaces, you're also going to have certain amount of solution, and most of the karst caves are solution caves. So there's going to be some dissolution which is going to happen, and there are going to be caves or passages. For example, in Lakshadweep, where I've dived, you have certain overhangs or passages. They're not exactly caves, but they're overhangs, and there will be definitely some caves, because I haven't spent too much time there looking into those systems, but they definitely might be existing. We do know that there are some of Hawaii, and again, that's a volcanic system. Dr. Shirish, any update on that?
Manoj, do you think, are you satisfied with the thing? Dr. Manoj
Yeah,
Borkar.
yes, Shirish. Yes, Shirish. I think fair enough, because I wasn't actually talking about kind of volcanic eruptions and the geological perspectives of cave genesis and speleogenesis per se. But my question was more to do with kind of stratification that appears vertically in the marine realm vis-a-vis the extinction and attenuation of light that passes through the water column. So conventionally, we have these, these surface waters where there's kind of progressively diminishing light, and then some sort of a dim light, and then beyond a certain depth, you have pitch darkness. So I was trying to sort of, draw a correspondence between the exact location of the submarine cave vis-a-vis which zone. But I mean, I was looking at it from a very different perspective. In a sense, we know that deep down in the sea, in the Hadal zone, it's a very unique kind of life forms, right? And if you look at the deep zone of the cave again, you find something extremely interesting. So, I was wondering whether there's any parallel, but that's fine. I mean, I can understand. It's just fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Right. One of the things which you bring out is really good, but the main problem is that we don't have those kind of depths, at least that have been explored for in terms of ocean, the kind of ocean hadal depths that you're talking about in correspondence with cave subterranean ones yet. I think the deepest has been around 300 meters, I think now. Not even 300, sorry, 300 feet. So about 100 meters.
True.
So it's hard to draw a comparison there. So.
Thanks a lot, Vishwanath.
So the next.
Hello.
Abhijit's question is about.
From Abhijit Bura.
Yeah, it's about few critically endangered subterranean wetlands in Maharashtra and around. Every wetland is critically endangered, whether it's subterranean or surface. That's all I'm going to say.
And Vishwanath, I would like to just add to this question of Abhijit's. So Abhijit, India has around 47 like Ramsar sites, and then only one is one from like which is Renuka wetland in Himachal Pradesh is declared like a properly declared subterranean wetland of international importance. So yeah, this is all I just wanted to add, and we need to look and explore for such sites not only in Maharashtra but in the entire subcontinent.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Uh,
ma'am. Yes.
And I will just add to it. Speleological Association has just begun exploring such caves. Actually, now like we have done for some part for Andaman and Nicobar. Now we are currently looking at some of the caves in Maharashtra. And definitely, I believe we will find some subterranean wetlands there. That's what we understand from our study till now. But yeah, there are no studies on subterranean wetlands. Not only Maharashtra, maybe across India, very few are known. Whereas we may be having many more to identify.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sure.
Hello.
Anugrash's question is on oxygen and normal air use while diving. Uh, to elaborate on that, we use multiple gases when we go diving, depending upon the depth. We use air or a mixture of air and oxygen as the primary gas, and that is up to 30 meters. And as we go beyond that, we use a mixture of helium, oxygen, and nitrogen, or helium, oxygen, and air. So the main concept is that we use different gases, like we use different fuels because we need to breathe, and that's our primary respiratory fuel. And why we also use different gases is because at different depths, the gases start getting toxic. So oxygen gets toxic beyond 6 meters. And when you need to come up after a long dive, your body absorbs the inert gas, the gas that you're not using, which is helium and nitrogen, and that needs to come out. So you need to understand a lot more about just what oxygen and normal gas use is. Best would be to take a dive class, honestly. Otherwise, on the Scuba Evolution India YouTube channel, we have a talk on gas management for divers, and that would be a much better resource for you. If I mean, this is too short a time to answer that this question. I'm going on to the next question by Shri Ranjani again. What are the precautions or procedures that is followed when the cave hasn't been rope marked? It's an exploration then, so you take all the precautions of going into an unknown location. You have additional, thought process of safety. You carry your own line, so you carry your own rope. Really, it's a thin line to mark the cave, and you always carry a line. That you always carry a guideline. If it's not been marked, you mark it.
Thank you for that answer.
The next question is by Krosko. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. How different is the pressure inside caves compared to open water? There's really no difference. The water column is the same. Go to the next question, which is, are there any water currents inside caves? Yes. You have both high flow and low flow caves, and you have upstream and downstream passages, which is basically some caves push out waters, which are springs. Some caves are siphons, which are sinks, so the water goes into them. So you have currents based on that. A lot of the caves in Florida are first magnitude springs. So basically they're putting out a lot of water and the current is pretty high. Sriranjani's question, is there is there an information sharing platform where divers contribute to database where caves are located and what cave feature or wildlife is? So yes, there is a database and there is not a database, in the sense that caves that have already been explored and adequately mapped will be available to the public and available to other divers. However, because there's cave divers are pretty competitive, like most people, they do not like to share the locations of unexplored caves because everybody wants to be the first person. And given that we are now in the in 2022, there aren't very many places across the universe that haven't been explored. So everybody wants to be a first, and everybody wants to kind of tick that box. So people may or may not share that location.
Can I add a point to this? Shri Ranjini, one of the objectives of Speleological Association is to prepare an atlas of caves across the country.
Right.
And there is no such thing is available. There are very few caves are known, and only few of them which are used for a religious purpose or cultural purpose are actually known to people. Otherwise, the others, like Vishwanathan has said, either they are not shared because of the competition, so-called competition, or they are not known. So one of the objective of this association is bringing out atlas, mapping all the caves possible, all the locations possible, and trying to work towards their conservation or their sustainable use and sort of things.
Right, right. I was only wondering, I hadn't thought about it from the competitive perspective. I was only wondering it in terms of more like how birding has evolved over the years as a public activity, and how
Right.
data from that is being used for scientific research and things like that. So I was just wondering if there's a record where people share data, not particularly locations, but even other parts of the dive that might be worth a look, or that might be worth conserving, or from a conservation standpoint, or from a wildlife standpoint, or a habitat standpoint.
That is definitely one of our key objectives, which is why we are having, which is why the Speleological Association of India was set up, and which is why we are part of this as divers, which is why we are sharing what we did in Meghalaya already. And the idea is, and I firmly believe in this, that if you don't see it, most of the times you don't care about it. And if we don't spread the word of subterranean caves and subterranean wetlands, there isn't going to be much done about keeping them safe and keeping the resource as pristine as it should be. So we will, and we are definitely going to share whatever information we have with everybody else and across the world. It's not just in India. We want it to be available as a resource for everybody. We might even, the atlas might actually serve as a template for the rest of the world, that this is what can be done if you actually go ahead and share resources and have proper scientific oversight with what you're doing, which is again why I am part of the Speleological Association of India, primarily because we want to have scientific oversight in what research and exploration we are doing.
Right.
Before we go to the next question, I think Arindam has raised his hand quite a few times. So Arindam, can you ask your question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful presentation, but I am not person from the scuba divers or thing like that. I'm basically a geomorphologist, and I have done my PhD almost submitted my PhD from Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, where in Meghalaya a lot of caves are there. And from the Department of Geography, we also went to some of the caves there. Long time back with our professors, and I'm very much interested in the mapping of all those things. Like in your group, like, do you also date the landforms, or erosional and the positional features?
We have
And
not begun with that since we have a geologist with us, but we have just begun, so we are not yet still into it. But yeah, definitely we are interested to do it in future.
okay.
Like I said, in my presentation, the first push was done in for the underwater caves was done in February 2021, and because of travel restrictions and other COVID issues, we
Yeah.
haven't been able to do anything so far. We are hoping to do some this year. So yeah, we'd like Dr. Manchi said, we're definitely going to do stuff.
So, like I was looking through your website, like a members associate to join your team and all. Like, means how that is possible. Like, I'm also a life member of the Geomorphological Association, international association. So, if any kind of possible, one of my professor is also the president from the current vice president of International Association of Geomorphologists, so we can work like together if you like collaborate with us, kind of mapping and geomorphological mapping, because what we map currently, I have done my like work on the means because I have some experience on the glacial lake, because I'm currently working on the glacial lakes, and the glaciers in the eastern Himalayas, worked in the Sikkim,
Arindam, can I interfere you?
yes, yes.
Maybe we can have this discussion privately later
Yes,
on,
yes.
and
Yes.
we will deal with other questions right now. Sorry. Yeah. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. You can actually write to the email IDs given on the website, then we can start the discussion and we can go ahead with that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah. We'll go for the next question, maybe.
Yeah, so the next question was what the team members do if there's any problem with the light supply inside the cave. We carry our own light supply, so we carry torches, and not just any torch. It's an underwater torch. It's a pretty big battery pack, and depending upon the time that you're going to spend in the cave, you want to have adequate lighting. So if your light does fail, you have backups, and you have backups for backups, and your buddy has backups and backups for backups. So it's a very rare situation where you will have all your lights fail. I'm sure it's happened. Fortunately, not yet to me. And there are procedures for that to exit the cave safely. That's why you train as hard as possible. Again, another question is what's the longest time someone can dive inside a cave? It depends upon the resources you're carrying. When I say resources, it's primarily a gas and light. So ideally, we aim to have 1/3 of our gas and 1/3 of our light to go inside, 1/3 of the gas and 1/3 of the light to come back, and 1/3 is then as a backup in case something goes pear-shaped. So there have been cave dives that are exceeding 14 hours. There are cave dives which are just about an hour. It depends upon what you want to do and how well equipped you are and how well trained you are. Renu's question on what's the duration to learn diving? To learn diving, you can learn it in a day, but to properly learn it and get certified in a course, it takes about 4 days. In order to be a cave diver, it will take you, I would say, about 6 months of being dedicated only to the sport of diving. Probably a year, if not comfortable. Hi, Vardhan. Nice to see you here. I don't know whether you're still here, but I'm going to just give you a quick. Your question is about, can you talk about the Interview Island and Nicobar Islands caves from the underwater biodiversity point of view? I'm still trying to go there. I hope, Dr. Manchi, can you speak on that?
Yeah, hi Vish, nice talk. And hi Shirish, hi everyone.
Hi, Vardhan. Great to see you here.
Hi, Vardhan. Yeah, we have visited some of the subterranean wetlands in Andamans. Unfortunately, not in Nicobars yet. But yeah, there are several underwater subterranean wetlands, which but we could access them only in limit because we cannot dive, and there are some subterranean wetlands where we need people like Vishwanath, and that is one of the thing how Vishwanath and we all are working together. Like I have plans to get Vishwanath to Andamans, and most probably you can also join us because you being one of the divers, I would love to have you there, man. Hmm? But
Thanks, Shirish.
yeah, and we have a very good diversity in these subterranean wetlands in Andamans. Like we recently described a new shrimp species from one of these wetlands, on dedicated to Dr. Ravi Shankaran, who initiated the cave research in the Andaman Nicobar Islands.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
it's
just go
wonderful
to
that
yeah.
it's wonderful kind of work you are doing, and it's really inspirational. And I just
Hey,
wanted to
thanks.
add to this is that
Yeah.
I myself have dived in few caves in Terrace Island, and I'm
Oh,
happy to
great.
share locations. And they were, of course, I went only up to 8 meters because I was not equipped and it was exploratory.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
in future, there are at least 3 caves that I know where one can dive.
Oh, great.
And definitely, I'll be happy to be part of your team
Yeah,
for
we will try
exploration.
to go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Great, great, great. We'll go to the next question then.
Thanks,
Thank
Vardhan. I always knew you were a great guy. Okay, so the next question is Anshul's, which says, can you explain what the relationship between climate change and these cave systems? Climate change and these cave systems is one of the simplest things. Is as you have seawater level rises, and if you actually look at all these subterranean karst systems, karst is nothing but limestone, which basically means that there was an ocean at some point in time, and the karst is formed, limestone is formed from fossilized coral, fossilized limestone from marine creatures. So at some point in time, we will have climate change, which will probably enough climate change, which will probably cause these passages to be completely flooded, and we have to be careful about not letting our entire earth get flooded.
Vishwanath, you're mute.
Yeah, that's my answer to the question. I mean, the relationship is that these cave systems have been formed due to climate change, and there will constantly be change as long as we don't take care of it appropriately.
Can we go to the next question now if Anshul is satisfied? Okay. I don't know if he's there. We'll go to the next question.
I'm not sure. Also, some of these questions that I'm answering very matter of factly. There's not much. I'm not probably giving you.
Hello, I was there.
Technical
And
explanations.
Oh,
thank you
Anshul is
for
here.
and thank you for answering my questions.
Hey, thanks for your participation. Yeah,
Next
we'll go to
question
the
is
next
from
question.
Ashoy. Ashoy, first, if you're here, can you tell me if you're a tech diver already? If not,
Hi.
I will.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so just to tell you, any diving which is done in an overhead environment, which is a cave or a wreck, or any environment where you do not have direct access to the surface, is more or less technical. The only difference would be in terms of when you're talking about recreational technical diving, you're talking about the gases that you're using and the procedures that you have. So that's the brief on technical diving. But yes, technical diving is done in vertical channels and of caves and pit caves, like the one which I was talking about, the sink, eagle's nest. It's a sink. It's like a wash basin. It's actually like a wash basin, and the drain goes straight down to which is where the breakdown room is. It goes straight down to 60 meters, no, sorry, 30 meters, and then spreads downstream and upstream to 55 and 90 meters respectively. And it's a technical cave dive. It's a trimix cave dive. So yeah, they're done.
Thank you.
Next question by Anshul again. Are the findings of the Speleological Association of India open source? Dr. Shirish, you want to take that?
We have just begun updating our website, and most of the things we are planning to keep open source unless there are some publisher limitations are there. But otherwise, when you look at the team members' names, if you can go to their ResearchGate sites, ResearchGate pages, you can request them for a full text, and they'll definitely send you the full text. That's what I understand. I think Anshul has left recently. So
for those who
we'll
are
go
still
to
here, just to echo that, most of the research that Dr. Shirish and the other group members do are actually open source available on ResearchGate. They publish their PDFs there as well. So in case you need anything, you can always get in touch with them. That's the perfect resource.
Yeah.
So next question is by Sandeep Rishi, which is, what is the mode of communication while deep diving? Interestingly, you can have voice, and otherwise most of the time we just use hand signals and sign language and light signals when you're in a dark zone. But you can have voice. You can have underwater communication systems which do not need to be hardwired to the land. So the diver can carry their own communication system and they can talk to each other. It's not the clearest, but it takes practice. And yeah, and sometimes when you're breathing helium, for example, your voice becomes all Mickey Mouse. And so when that happens, you have to really be careful about enunciating your words correctly.
Great. We'll go to the next question maybe.
Next question is by Shweta, which asks, do we face any issues sighting while diving deep? How do you manage with foggy goggles while you are deep down? We do not have foggy goggles because we defog them. Spit is the best defogger, but you get commercial defogging liquids as well. As most of us divers know, whatever you see on with the way you see on land, there is the difference in water, in the sense that everything gets magnified by 33%. That said, as you grow older, like I'm now needing reading glasses, so I use inserts in my masks, and you also get prescription masks for people who have spectacles from they can buy their own prescription mask, and it just works that way. The next question is by Sarvanan. Dives can extend 14 hours. Is there any possibility of nitrogen narcosis? Yes, nitrogen narcosis doesn't really affect us in terms of time, but it's more in terms of depth. And I was talking about the different gases that we use, and which is why we use helium to reduce the possibility of narcosis. And it's not just nitrogen, it's inert gas narcosis, and oxygen also causes narcosis. So yeah, we do take a lot of care in choosing up the right gas mix. It's possible. We do take care of it. I think that answers the second question as well from Sravanan. Jerry's question is, do you use a wetsuit or a dry suit in deep caves? The longer you are in the water, the colder you're going to get, because water draws out heat 25 times more than air. And you definitely want to use a dry suit. In deep caves, when you're doing dry explorations, you may or may not use a dry suit. It depends upon the internal temperatures of the cave. But cave diving, I definitely use a dry suit.
Okay, I understand that was the last question in the chat box. We have Yogesh Shinde who raised his hand. So, Yogesh, can you please go ahead with your question? Yogesh, can you hear me? Yogesh Shinde?
Sir, can we just go on to the next question?
Oh, I think.
Because maybe he's not available.
Yeah, I think we are done with the question answer session. I think we are done with all the questions.
I have just also dropped in my email address in case anybody has any further questions.
Yes, please. Can I come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Amogha, please.
Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Myself, Professor Uma Shankar from Department of Botany, Northeastern Hill University.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Amoga is my son's name. Actually, I am attending from.
Oh, I didn't understand that.
Pardon for that. First of all, I am very, very pleased to be a participant here. I am listening this wonderful talk. A lot of work is being done from your side. One or two things I just wanted to know whether there is a website of Speleological Association of India. I could not find.
Sir. I think Dhanusha can tell you about that.
Yes, sir. We do have a website and Facebook page and Instagram page also. Sir, I'm just typing the link for you in the chat box.
Thank you very much. That's one. Secondly, yes, please. So
yes, sir, you can see there is all.
If I ask you because I am from plant sciences, the status of plant explorations in caves in India. I mean, it's a general question, of course. What will be your comment on that?
Dhanusha, you would like to comment on that?
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
No, I am just curious to know about the status of plant explorations inside the caves in India. Hello.
Sir, actually, we just begun the organization.
Yeah, speak. I think Dhanusha has some.
So we've just begun the Speleological Association of India, and definitely
I cannot hear you.
I think she has some technical error, maybe internet problem. Sir, we have just begun, and as far as we have gone through the literature, we being a zoologist, definitely we started with the cave fauna thing. And then only we think about cave flora. I'm very sorry about that. But then when we looked at the literature, it's almost nothing is done other than few fungus species are identified. Otherwise, the floral part is almost not known. Maybe because it is mostly related to the twilight and the entrance zone. In dark zone, there is no question of plants as such, but then there will be fungus and sort of other thing. but it will be very interesting to explore that along with the fauna,
Yeah.
because then because
That's where
in
I
such
have little interest, and if you kindly accept me in your company, I will certainly be of some help to you.
Sir, we need people like you, sir. We need people like you, and you are from Nehu, so that's added advantage to have you with us.
Yeah. So
We'll
I
discuss
have
about
my
it, sir.
details on our website page, nehu.ac.in. You can explore my details there.
So can I
Department,
add one more thing
faculty,
to this?
faculty.
Yes, Amrita, please.
Yeah, sir, I would just like to add that there, like you mentioned, that there are plants in the twilight zone and the entrance zone of the cave. So there are some papers that you would find which have documented such species, but they are not again specific to caves, or they have not like any specific study for
I
adaptation
mean,
of
I
flora in
have
caves has not
thought
been done.
that there is
And
a plenty of
additionally,
research available for further research, future research here actually. Sorry, yeah.
definitely, sir. And one more thing I would just like to add, Shirish sir is being very humble. He himself has a paper on karst vegetation in Andaman Islands. So although it is not specific to caves, but karsts are very much all caves.
Yes.
So he also has that paper.
Yeah, thank you,
Kindly
Amrita, for
drop
adding
in
that.
somewhere. I would be very happy to be in touch with you, and you are
Yes, sir,
always
please,
welcome
please.
to visit our department and university whenever you are in Meghalaya.
Yes,
I
yes.
welcome
I,
you.
I had
All-
visited
all
Nehu
my-
earlier, a zoology department, but then yeah, I would love to visit again, definitely.
Okay, and
I think
if
we
you
should, the whole cave team, cloud-based team should visit them.
Yeah, I think Nehu will be a very good platform to access Meghalaya caves, right?
Right, and we can
yeah.
use
I think this
them as a
formation of
base.
the
Yeah.
association is a wonderful thing, and I will be happy that I will welcome you and extend my support to
Sir,
the
what we will do is,
organization.
I'll get back to you on this. I'll get back
Let's
to
have
you
a
on
talk.
this, and we can have a separate private talk about this, not in this forum. This
Sure.
may be not a correct
Yeah.
forum to have this detailed discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if there are no other questions, then Dhanusha, can you go ahead with the next session?
Yes, sir. So am I audible at least now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So yes, indeed, this webinar was definitely a deep dive into subterranean wetlands. I hope you all agree with me. First of all, I would like to thank our speaker, Commander Vishwanath Rajan. It's an absolute honor, sir, that you have given your precious time to us and shared all your experiences about diving, and also gave us a brief review about what are wetlands, what are scuba, and about the cloud project and the future plans of Speleological Association of India. Thank you, sir. I thank you again. I'm also very much thankful to all the participants for attending this webinar, and also encouraging Speleological Association of India to conduct more such exciting webinars on unattended topics which are related to caves. So thank you, everyone. And the link to our website is in the chat box. And I will also request everybody to just switch on turn on their camera, so we just have a group photo. Is it possible for everyone to do that?
Can we have a share screen closed? That will give a more space to have more people on the screen.
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, we have a wonderful young group actually.
So
Lovely.
good evening to all the
I'm very
lovely
happy
people
to
out
see
here.
that.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for
I would
attending
add,
this webinar.
Thanks, Dhanusha, for the kind words. And great to see you, Vardhan. And everybody, it's been a long time.
Will this recording be available, sir?
Yes, we'll be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel. We'll send you all an update about that.
And we've also live streamed this on Facebook.
Dhanusha, I think you can stop
Yeah,
the
so we-
recording now if you want.
Yes. Yes.
So I would like to add that